Now, before I take you down the road of my recovery, I'd like to ask you a few questions, if that's okay. We have a very short amount of time together, and tonight I really want you to not just listen to the words that I'm about to say, but really hear them. During this short, but hopefully very sweet time together, you're going to hear me use the word normal quite often. Because not only does my journey redefine the paradigm of recovery, but I have a pretty good feeling it's also going to have you change your perspective of normal. So to get started, I'd like you all to close your eyes for me. Keep them closed until I tell you to open them. I want you to think of something that's the most important thing to you. And I want you to dig really deep, because I can guarantee what's most important to you is going to look very different to the person sitting next to you. While you're thinking about that, I'd also like to ask you, is there something in your life that you believe you need to possess to make you truly happy? Open your eyes. 15 years ago, as I was laying in a hospital bed after a diving accident left me a quadriplegic, I was just weeks away from turning 21. I'd lost more than just my mobility. I'd lost the belief that I would ever truly be happy again unless it were on my feet. An interesting fact about the moments that I spent in that hospital bed, though, so many of them were spent watching TED Talks. And there were a few things that I didn't know then that I know now. What my future would look like, that I was neurodivergent, or that those TED Talks would change the trajectory of my life. Now, a quick Google search defines recovery as the return to a normal state of mind, health, or strength. I could relate to that because my normal was walking alongside my friends, walking my dogs, or walking towards the future I had envisioned for myself. Walking. This was the only way I could ever truly see myself being happy. Days turned into months and months turned into years. I pushed my body through some of the most rigorous exercises while asking my mum if she ever thought I would walk again. You see, I'd already lost that validation from my medical team because I was doing things that they had considered were impossible for someone living with my injury. While I longed for hope and that need for the validation to walk again, my friends were coming and going from my life. They were moving on, they were getting married, they were starting families. And while this made me really sad, I reminded myself that we're all on different journeys and living very different versions of normal. I remember the moment that my heart truly felt happiness again. It was when I met my horse, Penny. I'd spent years working with animals, and when this majestic creature came into my life, she locked eyes with me. She walked towards me with her strawberry blonde mane blowing in the wind, and her eyes just spoke to my soul, saying, "Here I am. I'm here to change your life and help you take your next step." That she did. Penny resurrected a part of my soul that I thought I'd lost in that swimming pool. As joy began to return to my life, my need and that pressing feeling that I felt like I needed to regain of walking again didn't seem as important. So I opened a recovery facility. And I did it so those living with injuries that were similar to mine could find that joy and happiness again. They could pursue the opportunity to regain their independence and improve their quality of life. And I named it the next step because the next step is what we have the power to control. And I figured that was a pretty positive move towards happiness. Just like Penny did for me, I wanted to show up for those who were willing to take their next step, whatever that looked like for them. The facility and its community have inspired me. They continue to show me that everything happens for a reason, and I now have a purpose. And what's most important is they've taught me that the hours that I spent pursuing walking weren't time lost. But it's not about the quantity of hours you spend on something, but the quality of life you spend living it. Fast forward to my wedding day, though. A very significant moment in a woman's life, if I do say so myself. And I did take that walk, the walk down the aisle. Though as significant as it was, it really felt like a performance and not a genuine moment like the genuine ones that I had felt with my horse Penny, or that I feel when I'm at the next step. Since my divorce, though, I've had countless moments of joy, in fact, more than I can count on two hands. And the funny thing is those friends that were coming and going from their lives, well, we have so many similarities now, and the main one is divorce looks way better on us than marriage ever did. Now, if you were to ask me what a normal day looks like for me, I'd respond with this question. What's your definition of normal? Because circa Rhiannon 15 years ago to now, my definition and my perspective of that word has changed dramatically. It's interesting. I've been on the speaker circuit now for over a decade, and this moment feels more important to me than so many moments I've already shared. I guess the point of difference now is that I know I'm neurodivergent, and I know I have ADHD. And if you know someone with ADHD or you have ADHD yourself, you'll know that we don't prepare for anything. We do everything at the last minute. I've been preparing for this TED Talk for weeks, and no matter how hard I tried, my executive dysfunction took over because I was so passionate about ensuring that I did it well and that my message got across well. What I forgot, though, was how excited I was to be giving that TED Talk. In fact, I went back to 15 years ago when I felt like I wouldn't be happy unless I did something a certain way. You see, a presenter would memorize their speech or their keynote, or they'd use a teleprompter. But for me, how I always show up for myself is by writing things down. So here we are. Welcome to my normal. I'm giving this TED Talk, and I'm doing it the way that I do life. I'm living, and I'm definitely not surviving. I realize that it's not important how I deliver this TED Talk. What's important is the messaging and the fact that you get to hear that message. You know, it's interesting when you let go of things that were once really important to you, how your entire life re-evolves and your perspective changes. You see, something we all have in common as human beings is the power to adapt. And I think that's just as powerful as being neurodivergent and getting a divorce. Recovery is much the same as healing. They're both not linear. And while the definition, it exists in the dictionary or on Google, it's what is inside you and your potential that truly defines the word itself. Thank you.